have been destroyed as well. This is Sunset Boulevard again, and just up the way, Bullinger and Livorno, and we're going back into the clouds of smoke. Again, this is an area that burned last night, and it continues to burn. You've got this fence that's been blown into the road here, and you can see how strong the winds still are as we drive through Sunset Boulevard. Again,
crazy.
This is a thoroughfare so many
Looks
people
like a bad
in
dream.
Los Angeles and internationally are familiar with. You've got
I can't believe California is going
two
to
homes
now.
still standing. They are unfortunately the outliers here. There's another home that appears to be intact, but again, for every home that we see intact around here, scores and scores of homes that are either burned or continue to burn. This right here is going to be the intersection of Livorno Drive. You've got cars that have burned on the side of the road.
Oh my
a lot of people have been
goodness.
describing this as
Prayers
something
up for
that
these
we haven't
families.
seen in the United States before. This area is some of the
Like a horror
most
scene.
expensive property in the United States. So many people
Everyone
have
had
been
a chance to
comparing what happened
evacuate.
here to what happened in Hawaii. And that was absolute devastation. But as we roll into the town proper of the Pacific Palisades, again, we're not there yet, but it is hard to take in. You've got homes right here. Now we're on La Casa's place. We're approaching Akron. People are on bikes, but so many others have evacuated. Right here, Bienvenida, you've got some businesses that have burned. You've got multi-level homes that are now reduced to ash. And we're going to make our way up. We're passing Bienvenida right here. And this is Las Lomas. I'm saying these streets because for those that live here, this is going to be absolutely unrecognizable.
It is.
Again, this is Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. We're going back into zero visibility, so just going to pull over and make sure that we don't have any emergency crews coming down here. And right here, you've got homes that are burning, Take a look over here.
Goodness.
This is an apartment complex that has gone up. There's a multi-level apartment complex here and a string of other multi-level apartment complexes that have not burned. However, there are no firefighters here. If you've noticed, we haven't seen a fire crew in quite some time. That's because they have been diverted to other places where structure protection is needed. And again, these are multi-level, hundreds of people living in these apartment complexes. They have been evacuated, but there's a chance that those may go up because there are flames on three sides of those apartment complexes.
There's like five
there are some firefighters right here. More apartment
11,000
complexes as we come up to El
structures
Medio.
destroyed.
But now we are starting to approach the Palisades that we know.
I could live in
Temescal
Cali.
Canyon is up here. Wow.
These brush fires are real.
That is a Pacific Palisades Presbyterian Church, or what is left of it.
Prayers up for all the
are the remnants of a beautiful church that used to be up on the hill there. And you see those concrete pillars and those beams skyward, but that's about all you see. And then as we come down here, we're headed towards Temescal Gateway Park, the Mountain Recreation Center. You can see where the fire ripped through. Over here at the school, you've got active fire burning. You've got firefighters down below. They are trying to do structural protection, but it looks like that fire is still. Let me just pull over here.
It looks like a.
You can see that fire over there. It is in the building proper. It looks like it's already burned the gymnasium. And to be honest, I see 2 tankers, maybe 3 tankers down there, 3 engines. It's just resources are strapped so thin around here. This is Temescal Canyon.
I'm surprised you're not sending troops to
and now we're heading
Cali to help with this.
Again to show you the devastation that is difficult to take in.
Low, I know.
You've got these apartment complexes that have burned. This is a Gelson's up here. If you live in the Palisades, you know this Gelson's. If I'm not mistaken, that side of Gelson's is undamaged, but it looks like it's a total loss. That is just a shell of a building. The fire has ripped through there and this is the Palisades.
It's a ghost
You've got
town.
this is the Shell station, been ravaged. This is the Department of Water and Power, probably the only solid building standing, and you've got the fire department protecting it. In this area, Pacific Palisades Medical Dental Center still looks like it's standing. These businesses right here are all lost. The mall right here, the mall across the street, catty corner there, St. Laurent, that's still standing, but over here to the right, Casa Nostra is completely gone.
Wow.
And then we are seeing flames behind the mall here, and it's unclear what's going to happen because, again, we don't see any structure protection
No
happening here.
firefighters.
Firefighters are elsewhere. They are there are concerns that there is no water, and yet we see a lot of water in the street. We're not sure if it's a busted line, but there have been concerns about water throughout this entire area. And then this is the stretch of the mall that's been protected. Look at this. From here on out, for probably a mile, it is just nonstop destruction of all of these businesses, all of these homes. This is Carey Street. That's going to be Fisk Street going up. Let's see, Fisk, Hartzell. It does not look like there is
it's like a bad movie
for those houses up there. This is Fire Station 69. Fire Station 69 is still standing, but look over to your right. This is an entire neighborhood near Drummond Street.
This is crazy.
That is completely gone. And it's the same over to the left. The only thing standing in many of these homes are chimneys.
Chimneys.
This is so many people's homes that have now disappeared into rubble overnight. I mean, this is an inferno that is going to go down in history as one of the most destructive in Los Angeles, in California. We've heard approximate numbers of structures lost, and I can tell you those are preliminary numbers. Those numbers are going to climb.
Oh my goodness.
Again, this is Sunset,
5 already.
Hartzell.
Oh my goodness.
We're headed up, and unfortunately the destruction just continues. It is hard to fathom how much has been lost here, how many memories, how many belongings.
Can't hold on to materials.
Be
happy you got away with your life. Devastation.
It leaves you speechless. And here, we're going to show you that there's something going on with the water. This is outside of Huntington Palisades. And again, that was 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock, a drive that so many people have taken. We will never forget. And yet right now, what you're seeing on the side of your screen there, that is something that we hate to report and we are scared to report. That is a new fire that is burning in the Hollywood Hills. This one is just off of Runyon Canyon, that popular hiking spot here in Los Angeles. LA Fire says that they have been bringing in crews as far away as Mexico, Utah, Arizona. Those fire crews are trying to attack that fire while, as we all know, fire crews have been stretched thin. There are hundreds of firefighters that are out there in Altadena that have been working nonstop here in the Pacific Palisades, hundreds more that are still doing structure protection as we speak. And right there, the numbers are a little bit squishy at this point, but they're thinking about 10 acres. We have seen some water drops, which is so fortunate. That means that the winds have died down enough for air attack to come in and to make those water drops. But there are so many homes that are below that fire that's burning right now, down into Hollywood, down into West Hollywood. And then the thing about fires is fires move up topography. The fire superheats all the vegetation that's above. And we were, this is a place that we hike pretty frequently. That area is a tinderbox. And so that vegetation is going to be superheated. The fire will work its way up. Firefighters hopefully will be building lines, but above that is Mulholland Drive. And then on the other side of that is Studio City, where so many of people, including us, call home. They're calling this the Sunset Fire. This is the Sunset Fire burning near Runyon, not to be confused with the Palisades fire off of Sunset that we have been showing you all day long. Again, this is just a reminder that here in Los Angeles, a wildfire can happen at any moment. To have your bags packed, to be listening for evacuation orders, especially when the wind starts blowing. We're heading into another night of uncertainty, of unknown, and of high winds. And so for all of us here, we're hoping that everybody stays safe tonight and is on guard. For that, I'm Gotti Schwartz. We're going to wrap it up here. These historic wildfires that continue right now in the Pacific Palisades. But you can watch more on NBC News now.
Thank you for watching. I'm going to see what else I can pull up because I heard there was like a lot of other devastation going on. So just give me a second and we'll be right back. Okay. I'm going to remove this screen and you'll get to see a whole full shot of me. Not like I want that, but whatever. Yeah. So anyway, let me get back to the screen and see what else I can pull up. But I think this is it for tonight. So let's end the screen. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to see, I know there's been some issues with the traffic. With the wildfires in California has been really devastating. It's like a real horror scene. Like, I'm sorry, but it's the wildest thing. Mute this for a second, but I believe that California is going through this devastation right now. Everyone was able to evacuate because what I'm seeing out there is no joke. So we're going to just jump right into the video. Okay, guys, thanks for watching.
With a lot to get to. News tonight, anchor David Muir.
Tonight, the deadly apocalyptic scene, wildfires tearing through Los Angeles. They now fear thousands of homes destroyed here, at least 5 people dead. Authorities saying there are many, quote, significant injuries. This evening across Los Angeles, there are now 5 major wildfires: the Palisades fire, the Eaton fire, the Hearst fire, the Lydia fire, and the Woodley fire.
Wow.
Homes and cars burning tonight. Fierce winds sending fire embers down the street. The flames reaching the ocean.
All this is going to be gone.
We travel with CAL FIRE Battalion Chief Brent Pesqua, who says he has never seen anything like this. We're on the Pacific Coast Highway. We turn into one of the neighborhoods in Pacific Palisades. This small school burning.
You can hear the bangs going off.
Yeah, the fire's ripping through that school right there. The cars here charred.
And then we see it, home after home burning.
It's just jumping from home to home right now. With this wind, there's nothing to stop it.
As we drive up into the hills, the charred cars, where families simply stopped, got out, and escaped.
These people who were coming down from the hills here decided to give up because the fire was encroaching.
Right. The traffic was so bad they figured their chances were better getting out on foot and running the rest of the way out.
Let's be honest, like, you have a choice, fight or flight. Like, you're going to sit there and like burn. You see a fire's coming towards you. You can't escape elements. You know what I mean? Thank goodness these people did the right thing.
I mean, it's an apocalyptic scene.
It is. You see where the bulldozer had to come through and push the cars aside so we can get up here.
The bulldozers moving the cars so that fire trucks could get through.
So we're now 24 hours into this disaster, and we've got another multiple homes in a row here in flames.
Yeah, the wind is just pushing this fire from home to home to home, and you'll see it. It's even running down canyon to the homes that are below these homes. So there's just no stopping it when the winds are this strong. Everything's going to burn.
Yes.
We walk through the darkened neighborhoods here, smoke hovering over the homes, many still crackling from the flames. Overnight, Joshua Opheim and his dog trying to escape the fires surrounding them on Sunset Boulevard.
Embers coming off.
Captain Eric Scott with the LA Fire Department sharing this image from downtown Los Angeles. Thick smoke from the wildfires taking over the view of the sky. The air quality tonight, dangerous.
The fires being fueled by a combination of strong Santa Ana winds and surrounding topography, which makes it extremely challenging for us firefighters.
Wow, you can't make this up.
Authorities are calling this an extremely rare, life-threatening Santa Ana wind event. Gusts reaching 100 miles per hour. More than 35,000 residents under evacuation orders. Nearly 1 million now without power. Residents here tell us they have lost everything.
It's just pretty devastating. This is pretty devastating. I don't think LA's seen anything like this before.
Tonight, the California National Guard has been called in to help fire departments across LA County who are overwhelmed.
Wow.
From the air tonight, a fuller scope of the devastation.
It's real. Oh my
passenger
goodness.
capturing this view out his window. That flight diverted. Thousands of firefighters spanning out, racing to contain the flames. The new fires jumping from home to home.
Bro, I don't.
And residents here doing whatever they can. This young man, Orly Israel, trying to use a fire hose to beat back the flames in his own backyard.
Bro, we gotta go.
You can hear the intense fire crackling.
Oh. All right,
Fire alarm going off.
yeah, let's get out of here. We tried.
His friend there, Tanner Schaff, wearing a mask, trying to help him, trying to save the home.
We tried our best.
They both
Just
escaped
go.
through the front door, running to safety. The
Just
homes,
go.
the trees all around them.
Oh my
on fire.
goodness.
There's nothing we can do now, bro.
And then they pray.
God, protect this house in the name of Jesus. Protect this neighborhood, God. In Jesus' name, I pray, amen.
You better run for your life.
The biggest fire, the Palisades fire, entire streets engulfed. American flags waving as the building behind them is nearly gone. One firefighter with a hose trained at the front door, though every home there on fire. Firefighting aircraft dropping water on burning homes. The
Oh
fire
my
unrelenting.
goodness.
The fierce winds sending
Relentless.
embers traveling miles away. Fire and smoke pouring out of this home's window. Some 40 miles away, the Eaton fire in Pasadena. Tonight, these new aerial images revealing what the wildfires have done there.
But these are sad sights, and we've seen so much of this, into last year, and then now again in 2025. This is heartbreaking. I feel for these people.
The Pasadena Preschool Academy on fire. The residents at this senior living facility, the terraces at Park Marino, rushed out of their bedrooms, wearing masks to protect them from the air. They were rescued. A heroic effort by the LA Fire Department and emergency response teams across the region tonight. They are saving lives amidst the horror.
The scope of the loss here, though, is unimaginable.
It's devastating. It's devastating, and I feel for those people. I've spoke to some of them. I hear it in their voices. It tears at my heartstrings too. But like I said, at the end of the day, they were alive. They knew they would rebuild and come back better. And I just gave them a hug and I said, please reach out with anything you need.
Well, there's no question you've saved lives here.
That was our goal. That's our number one priority.
Thank you.
Tough.
Tears at all of our heartstrings, for sure. Our thanks to David Muir for that. Now I want to bring in ABC's Mola Lange in Altadena, just north of Pasadena. Mola, I know that your live show is taking some hits just because of the conditions there. Not too long ago, we heard from those officials in Los Angeles who are warning residents that we are not out of danger just yet. Just to remind our viewers what Mayor Bass had to say.
Yeah, she described the conditions, first and foremost, that there are still erratic winds out here. Obviously, still some challenging conditions for firefighters. It remains a very dynamic, a very fluid situation. She acknowledged that most people had heeded the warnings and evacuated when needed to evacuate. But the fact is, this is still a very dynamic situation. Fires, as you can see, the flames are certainly still happening throughout the LA area. Multiple fires continue to burn. Firefighters have not fully gotten their arms around this thing yet, as conditions have been extraordinarily challenging all day. So this is still very much a dynamic situation here, and they're urging residents to heed evacuation warnings, take caution, and be safe.
So necessary. We also heard from the LA City Fire Chief, who talked about the historic fire conditions on record. She also talked about the preparations that were made. Tell us about what she had to say.
Okay, now live in California.
In terms of, first and foremost, this is very much an all hands on deck situation. Firefighters from throughout LA County, really throughout the state, have been brought in, and they're all working, all hands on deck. In addition to that, they've recalled and called up off-duty firefighters. They have staggered scheduling out so it can be advantageous to the crews on the ground. So they're not just working around the clock 24/7. They're staggering crews to try to get them some rest when they can. Because they are up against so many challenging situations here, Lindsay, they need these folks to be as fresh as possible. But it is very much an all-hands-on-deck situation, as really the entire LA area is either facing situations like this or under threat.
Right, and officials also have a stern warning for looters, people who might try to take advantage of people in their time of misfortune.
Crazy.
Yeah, they were, as you said, very stern, taking advantage of people who are already going through so much. So many folks have lost their homes. So many folks whose homes are, are currently burning right now. So many folks who have evacuated their homes, not knowing what they're going to come home to. And so officials, warn folks, if you try to take advantage of these situations, make your way into neighborhoods where you don't belong and, go into homes where, that are not yours and where you don't belong, that the punishments will be stern and severe.
You're playing with your life
for us. Our thanks to you. And joining us now is a woman whose home was destroyed. Sue Cole, president of Pacific Palisades Community Council.
Right.
Sue, we thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Can't imagine what you and your neighbors are enduring at this moment. We are so sorry for all that you've lost. Give us a sense of what it's been like to witness the catastrophic images of flames tearing through your community.
Well, no one in our town of Pacific Palisades has ever heard of or witnessed anything the likes of this. We've had fires before. My family's been evacuated before, but at least down in the flats where I live, we've always been evacuated for a couple of days and then brought back. The fires have generally started in the hills and been contained up there and really not affected us too much down below. This was different because of the horrific winds. And we have extraordinary firefighters. We have two great stations in the Palisades, 69 and 23, great LAPD. But unfortunately, when you're dealing with that kind of wind, I don't care how many firefighters you have, there is no way to win against that wind. So the fire started and we were all, we didn't even really have to be notified. We saw the flames and the smoke within 5 minutes of when it started. And most of us went home, and even before we were ordered to evacuate, started packing up, family photos, pets, anything that was absolutely necessary, to get out. The images you saw of the people abandoning their cars, that was in the western part of the Palisades, where people all were coming down from the Palisades Highlands. There's only one road coming down and one road going up. And consequently, it was log jammed and the fire department couldn't get up. And it was just a mess because people saw fire and they realized they needed to get to the beach. And how were they going to get there? So they got out of their cars.
The beach is on fire
survival
too.
mode and got to where they needed to go. Where I live was in a different part of town where we could get to Sunset Boulevard, which is our only access road. And we could go east away from the ocean. And that's what we did early on. I'm sorry some people didn't leave sooner, because I think a lot of people felt that if they could just stay and use their hose, somehow they could save their house. In this case, there was just no way. I mean, even the firefighters had to turn away from most houses because there was just no way. So, everyone that I know, literally everyone I know, and all of my kids' friends, everyone's lost their homes. We lost our home. our entire neighborhood burned down. The fires everywhere, and it, it's still not completely out, and there's still windy. So we were lucky to get out. I feel very fortunate to get out with the kids and the dogs and our lives intact.
Not
You
about
walked us
material
through a lot of
possessions.
what you went through physically. I'm just wondering about the emotional toll that you're feeling now, and that anguish.
I'm gonna.
Well, it's hard because, you sit around and you talk about the things that were left behind and, why didn't I grab that? Why didn't I grab this? And you think about your entire life. In my case, 70 years old. It's a lot of years. And your whole life just went up in smoke. There's literally nothing left at all. So you have to start over, and you have to start prioritizing, if you didn't already, just the safety of your family, kids, your grandkids. And you just got to focus on that, because if you focus on that, I think you're going to be okay. If you worry about what you lost, it's a problem. And in our case, in the Palisades, we have the most wonderful town. So many people lost homes, but not only that, the whole infrastructure of the town is gone. The churches, the schools, the pharmacies, the markets. I think one of the fire stations was severely damaged. The library, there's nothing left.
Have you thought about now what you'll do in the weeks and months ahead?
That's what everybody asks. And if I do think about it, it's really, for me anyway, just a fleeting thought. I can't go there yet. I'm just trying to get through these few days. Just trying to get through these few days. I did a little bit of shopping today for an hour just to get a few things, because I really didn't. I took so many things with me that were meaningful, but I forgot to take clothes. It was a bit of a panic.
Sure.
You can buy that, just like you
So
did.
I tried to pick up a couple things today.
Some things you can
And,
buy over, some things you can't.
Our firefighters are amazing. Our LAPD is amazing. Our city councilwoman, Tracy Park, has been
Can't buy your life
terrific,
over.
along with her staff. Very
Walk
communicative.
away with your life.
A lot of advice, a lot of text messages from them. So we're all very, very grateful and doing the best we can.
All right. Well, Sue, we thank you so much for giving us your time in the midst of this grueling time for you. But glad that you were able to get everybody out safely.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And now to the thousands of families who took those desperate measures to save their homes, but then had to quickly grab, like Sue, their most precious belongings and escape. Our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, has more on that.
Tonight, abandoned cars, hillsides burning. The Palisades fire also scorching LA's most upscale beachside town of Malibu. Fleeing families trying to thread a tunnel of fire with both sides of the Pacific Coast Highway engulfed.
All of PCH is on fire right now. It is like driving through hell itself down here.
Wow,
Literally
no,
through
that's
hell.
crazy.
This is madness down here. These homes are on fire, and you can feel the heat from the flames, even from inside your car.
Hopefully they're going to save our house. Hopefully they're going to save our house.
Frank DeMarco tried to save his Malibu home himself, but with flames feet away, he had no choice but to get in his car and get out.
Look at this. Look at this.
I hope you guys are liking my
is on
channel.
fire.
Give me a nice like.
Everything's
I'm
on
new
fire.
to YouTube.
I don't know what
I'm
to do
trying
here.
to build my
The
channel up.
firefighters
So
spread so thin,
hopefully
the
you like
howling
the
winds
coverage.
spreading flames like seeds across Southern California.
There is nothing left of these neighborhoods, house after house on both sides of the street.
See, Lady
Completely
Diana,
gone. Many of them
you're
still on
watching.
fire, not a firefighter in sight. And you can see all these embers being cast. And all that's
Lady
left in many
Diana,
of these
thank you for
neighborhoods
watching. Hit the
are
like
just
channel.
chimneys,
Hit the like button.
burning homes.
And by daybreak, the flames even stronger.
The ferocity of what we are seeing, this house that has become a blowtorch, very quickly igniting the other house. You can hear all that popping. Gives you a sense of why so many neighborhoods here have been completely obliterated.
Former beach volleyball champion Randy Stolkos has lived here all his life.
This is paradise. This is one of the finest places in the world to live. And unfortunately, it's gotten turned upside down.
And LA County's fire chief admitting
like
with
that.
major fires burning around Los Angeles, they just can't fight them all.
We're doing the
never
very
know
best
what
we
life
can,
brings
but
tomorrow,
no,
just like
we
that.
don't have enough fire personnel
So you
in
gotta
LA
think
County between all of the departments to handle this.
Our thanks to Matt Gutman. Hospitals around Southern California are working tirelessly to try to help those injured in the fires. Joining us now is Dr. Peggy Sang,
I can
who's been
tell you, they
among
don't
those
have enough
healthcare workers
manpower
treating
right
patients
now.
from the Eaton
No,
fire.
not enough
Doctor, thank you
manpower
for joining us tonight.
for any of
First off,
this.
just give us a sense how you and your colleagues are holding up tonight.
We are really, it's just, I've never experienced anything like this. Everyone is in shock. We are going to work as we normally do. We always have to show up to work no matter what happens because people need us. But it's just a devastating time because our patients are being affected, but our own families, our own homes are also being affected. And it's just, we're kind of in shock. You know, it's really eerie. I was working last night in the emergency department, and just inside the emergency department for the first time, I actually felt safer in here than outside, which is crazy to say. And but even inside at work, you know, the hospital's lights are flickering and on and off. We're working on generators. You know, our tests are getting delayed because we're relying on electricity that's not reliable. And so, and we're getting patients from the surrounding areas that are getting evacuated. So it was just on top of a regular bad flu season. Like this is usually when we're busiest time of year. And then now we have this terrible disaster. And I've never seen anything like this before.
What are you hearing from patients about what happened to them? Largely, are we talking about burns or people who've inhaled the smoke?
Yeah, right now, luckily, most of my patients, they've all been evacuated before they're actually getting the direct injuries from fire. So we're not seeing so much burns right now, but we're seeing the evacuations. So we're seeing patients that are, a lot of nursing home patients are being evacuated because they're in the danger zones. And then these people have nowhere to go. These patients can't just go to a regular shelter. They need to be transported. Some of them may be dependent on machines for ventilation, for breathing. They need like complex medical care. And where can they go but to us, the emergency department, because we're open for everyone. And, you know, there are definitely like the air quality is so bad right now because of the smoke. You can't avoid it no matter where you are. So anyone that has chronic lung disease or, you know, asthma, COPD, pulmonary fibrosis, they're all affected. Everyone's having shortness of breath. Even healthy people are. So it's just really affecting, even when the doors open in the emergency department, the ambulance comes in, the smoke is coming in at the same time, and us working, we're smelling it too. So it really is just in the air and everything. It's surrounding all of us.
And we know firefighting resources are spread thin right now. How well is the hospital able to handle this influx of patients?
I mean, last night it was bad. It was a disaster. I mean, I was fortunate enough to leave right when it was just starting to get really busy, but you know, patients are coming to us by their own vehicles because they're saying they've been calling for an ambulance and there's such a delay because the paramedics and firefighters are, you know, stretched thin. They're helping as many people as they can. They're fighting fires and they're waiting for, these people are waiting for ambulances and they're not coming.
That's
so they're
crazy.
Coming by private vehicles, people that are very sick.
You get all this money vehicles. And look what happened.
And then, you know, our staffing.
People don't want to live in
people get sick regular flu season.
And then you be
no
happy.
Staffing, and then on top
a little bit. Look, and then God provides you with a lot because you got peace.
So it's just we're doing the best we can, and people are helping out. You know, as we always do. You know, step up when we can, which we really appreciate. And yeah, we're just trying the best. I don't think we've ever had anything like this happen before, so there wasn't really any kind of plan to prepare for this. It really was just unprecedented.
Right. So many people using that word. Dr. Peggy Sang, we thank you so much, and our thoughts continue to be with you and your patients. Thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
And we're now just getting word about yet another fire, the so-called Sunset Fire that has exploded in the Hollywood Hills. Before we get to that, let's go right to our Alex
another
Stone,
fire
for us in Altadena, which is about 20 miles from Hollywood Hills. Alex, give us a sense of what the situation is like there in Altadena.
Well, right now, because the power is out in this whole fire zone, it is very dark, Lindsay, and still homes are burning. This is a home that has been burning for the last couple of hours. Firefighters several times have tried to come in, put a little bit of water on it. And I actually hear a helicopter coming right now, which is an unusual thing. And at nighttime, here it comes, which that is a great sign. that there is a water dropping helicopter working at night. We have
I
only seen
hope
a
that
couple
water
of
is enough.
helicopters
It ain't
today.
gonna
It's
be
been
enough
very
for all that
rare.
fire and
That is a
wind
good sign for tonight, that the
on
winds
here.
have died down enough that they can get at least helicopter resources, if not other air attack tomorrow when the sun comes back up. We did see right before the sun went down, a couple of heavy air tankers come in. They were making circles, making passes, so they should be back here tomorrow. But still a very active scene, not enough firefighters. They need more. There's a lot of help coming in.
And Alex, we've been told that this Hollywood Hills fire is just a nightmare situation for that area, for the fire department. Give us the latest there.
Yes, what we know right now, and this is all breaking at the moment, but it is in the Hollywood Hills near Runyon Canyon, and it is growing rather rapidly right now at about 20 acres. The LAFD, they're able to get in their helicopters to try to begin putting water on it, but there are some evacuations that are beginning right now. The Hollywood Hills are extremely tight, narrow roads of the homes that are nestled up in the Hollywood Hills. So they're telling people to get out right now. There are a number of evacuations that are underway. In fact, during a red flag fire warning like this one that we're in right now, there are restrictions on where you can park in the Hollywood Hills because the roads are so tight that otherwise they cannot get engines up there. This is not good. LAFD does not have the staffing for this right now. They are desperately needing this help to come in from Nevada and Arizona, Northern California and Colorado, Utah, everywhere where they are inbound right now, and to have another wildfire breaking out in about 20-mile-an-hour winds. It looks like the fire's around 20 acres. It's growing rapidly, and hopefully they can get a handle on it.
Hopefully so, and at least the winds are dying down a bit. Alex Stone, our thanks to you. Arcana Whitworth has lived in the LA area for years and even been forced to evacuate her own home twice in the last few weeks. She details some of the heartbreaking scenes that she's witnessed firsthand.
Yeah, Lindsay, look, I've been covering wildfires here in Southern California for a decade, and I've never quite seen the fire behavior that I have seen throughout the day today. And I have been able to get my eyes on a lot of this fire. I'm clearly standing here in Pacific Palisades. This is still smoking. There are still flames. And in fact, since we've been here, we saw the fire move over the ridge when the wind shifted and start to threaten more homes. So this whole area is still severely impacted. In fact, there's also a building over there that the entire roof is just on fire. But we also spent our morning out in Altadena on the Eaton fire. And that kind of fire behavior was totally erratic. It was sending flames from one side of the street, then back to the other. In fact, one law enforcement officer told me that he saw firefighters put out a fire at the same McDonald's 3 different times. So that's the kind of stuff that they're dealing with out there.
3 different
really
times
scary moment when they had to evacuate an assisted living facility. There was people in wheelchairs and on beds with oxygen tanks, and they made it safely out. But we went back and looked at that assisted living facility just hours later, and it was completely engulfed in flames, utterly destroyed. Now these fires continue to grow. We had a 5th fire spark up today, and if you look back at the Eaton fire, that's where we're seeing the deaths. That's where we're seeing the injuries. At this point, firefighters are telling us, Lindsay, they think that it's possible there is some 500 structures that have been damaged or destroyed in the Eaton fire alone.
11,000.
And one thing that's deeply concerning, Lindsay, is that firefighters are saying part of the issue here is that people aren't evacuating when they need to. And it's really important to remember that evacuating on time is not only good for residents, right, but it is also good for the first responders. And that's something that I've even experienced myself here, right? This is the second time that me and my family have been evacuated in just about a month. And it's a challenging scenario to get your family out of the house.
Leave
but it is
right
the
away.
safest thing to do. And there was just a big wind gust that blew right through here as we're talking about that. So again, heeding these warnings from firefighters, from law enforcement officers, to make sure that you're doing the safest thing for you and your family, because these winds are still howling. Even as they say things are going to get better, even as the humidity starts to get better, it's still major fire concern out here, not only in Pacific Palisades, but throughout Southern California. Also, the Palisades fire, it's starting to burn so close into Malibu now that it's encroaching on that Franklin fire burn scar. And so people in those communities that were just evacuated, again, myself included, are watching this on pins and needles. So many people here in Los Angeles, Lindsay, are in for yet another very scary night ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for putting that all in perspective for us, Kana. And Kana, of course, will continue anchoring for ABC News Live tomorrow from the scenes of these fires. And now to our nation's capital, where President-elect Trump addressed the fires with our senior congressional correspondent, Rachel Scott. Take a listen.
Given your criticism of Governor Gavin Newsom, are you willing to work with him, and do you believe that federal aid should be provided to California for as long as it takes?
Well, it's very sad because I've been trying to get Gavin Newsom to allow water to come. You'd have tremendous water. So what's happening in California is a true tragedy. I know those areas very well. I have many friends living in those houses. That is a true tragedy. Nobody ever thought. I mean, virtually Beverly Hills and areas around Beverly Hills are being decimated. The biggest homes, some of the most valuable homes in the world are just destroyed. I don't even know. You know, you talk about tax base. People leave. You lose half your tax base of California. This is a true tragedy.
People not there, and it's live, like keep going.
Say the administration.
It's going to pick up.
Let's get to ABC News Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z now. And Ginger, some have called this a perfect storm of conditions. Walk through how this became so catastrophic. I know that you said part of it has to do with just how dry the conditions are.
Yes, without the dry conditions, you don't get as many fire starts going as fast, but you really need the wind. And that was the part that made this so horrific and still is a problem. So, Lindsay, that came from having that high pressure system, that Four Corners high, that makes Santa Ana wind events often. But then you had the really strong pressure gradient between that and the low. This squeezes the air.
Guys, tell me this is not the most devastating situation you could be in right now. You know, tell me, like, you have family there. Like, write it in the comment section if you have family. Hopefully they escaped this wildfire in California. So far, they say 5 people have been dead. 11,000 structures have been destroyed. Like, I hope that you're able to get your family out in time. And people were smart enough to just abandon what they have, because material possessions don't mean anything in a time like this. You know, you can always buy that back. You have money, you know, you're from the Palisades, so you can always get a new structure back. Hopefully you got out with your life, because something like this, even manpower couldn't cover the destruction that's going on in this state right now. So let's jump back into the program, because this is the most devastating thing I've ever seen. You know, it's like a horror movie scene, like a movie set that you can't believe you're in at the moment.
That's going to
But it's
eject
real
over
life.
the plains and make it
this. The
Dallas,
wind is
Little Rock,
blowing.
Memphis, all in a winter storm warning. Talking about Thursday into Friday. So Interstate 40, Interstate 20. Those
So,
are the areas you're going to need to watch.
it's
We
not-
time it out here.
It's not
See
my
how-
spec right now. We're not going to watch this. Okay. Because I was on the fire. So we're going to jump back into the fire. Stay here and take the screen off for you guys, just because I'm going to figure this out. Okay. We're going to watch what we need to watch. Let me see. You know what? I can't give y'all everything. Let's remove this right now. I can't get everything. So let's just pray for the people who've been going through this Sunset Fire. There's all types of fires in California right now, and it's just devastating. So let's jump back into the video, because I veered off track for a little bit, but we're going to jump right back in, because they're talking about the fires, and that's all we need right now to maintain our focus.
Block of Curzon. You can see the home, 1984 Curzon Avenue, with fire just feet away from the rear of that home.
Okay, so I've been able to isolate Curzon Avenue here on our touch screen as well. You can see where the fire.
I gotta go see it, dude. You know, nigga doing life for 30 years, man.
Sizable homes that are along Curzon Avenue as the fire continues to creep towards these homes right here. These are the ones in imminent danger right now.
Your
But as the
boy
fire
lives in the same town.
Of course, there are other communities in danger as well. As you can see, highly populated. The further the fire goes down the canyon, the more homes that are going to be in trouble. Chris, I'm going to throw it back to you as you watch this fires progress.
Yeah, we're going to continue to kind of wrap ourselves around this, watching it spot not only to the south now, but also spotting a little bit over towards the west. So we're going to keep an eye on Curzon Avenue, but I think the focus here still remains on Hillside Avenue, Vista Street, and Franklin Avenue. Right there, that neighborhood on the right is now under threat by that fire on the left because the wind is blowing directly towards Franklin Avenue, right along Vista Street. Thankfully, up until now, we have not seen any structures on fire, and even if it is imminent, at least they have the luxury of getting more water on it sooner rather than later, and hopefully do something to impede the forward progress of this fire. But it is continuing to grow, continuing to spread, and continuing to spot ahead of itself based on these winds. And there's another water drop right there. LA City Fire, again, smothering this area with as many resources as possible. This is now the priority at the moment. Of course, they can multitask and they can address multiple emergencies at the same time, but it is a good time to pray for our city.
Yeah, and incredible chain of events that have occurred, because we do want to eventually get back to the other fires, which homes are still going up in flames, Colleen, and a dire situation over there as well. But this is highly important because we're dealing with a highly populous area and a fire that is on the move very, very quickly, a brand new fire, and they're trying to get as many resources on that as possible.
Yeah, this is one of those areas that we know would be prone during these kind of storm events. But again, this area is so highly populated. I'm curious to see when we're going to start seeing that mass exodus trying to get down Laurel Canyon or in the Cahuenga neighborhood area where they have to get down, because there's really only two arteries outside of this area. They're going to have to go Laurel Canyon, or they're going to have to go down to get to Cahuenga. But again, this is one of those areas that there are so many homes dotted along this area. This is exactly what none of these homeowners want to see. But again, at least it's right now in the brush. And we do know that LA County Fire, they've also been asked to join in this firefight. But again, you can see this. Thank goodness the winds seem like they're slightly calmed down compared to what we were seeing hours earlier, when, you know, the flames would start and then they would be horizontal, laying flat and just really blowing through this area. But Chris Christie, you're overhead as well. I'm not sure. Again, I know you noticed earlier to see if we saw a lot of cars making their way through this area. I'm just curious, because we know how heavily populated this area is. I don't see a huge amount of traffic, or maybe just so high up.
Well, go ahead. We could actually show you Hollywood Boulevard. We're keeping an eye on the traffic, and in the time that we've been here, we've watched things come to a practical standstill, partially due to the fact that LA City Fire has so many trucks now blocking Hollywood Boulevard. So it's really difficult, if not impossible, to get through here. And if they don't already, I would imagine there's somebody down there directing traffic. But essentially, the yellow tape is going to start going up and prevent access to the neighborhood. I encountered that last night when I was driving up to the Hearst fire in Sylmar. But right now, it looks like you see some traffic now. That's a good sign right there. Those are folks along Camino Palmero Street that are now fleeing the neighborhood. Those are evacuees coming down Camino Palmero Street from left to right there towards Hollywood Boulevard. Those are all folks. That street dead ends, and those folks are now coming away from the fire. So folks are definitely heeding the warnings. They're getting word of this, and they're getting out fast.
All right, Chris, we have, I hope we're prepared to do this, but we have isolated the evacuation zone in the area that we believe is in trouble right now. This is what the city fire department just told us when it comes to the evacuation zone. I'm going to leave it small right now just to show you the area. This is Hollywood Boulevard right here. Here are the canyons, what we're talking about. Now I'm going to expand out. The color's going to go away so you could more clearly see the homes that are in trouble. And as we expand out, this is where the fire is. And then you see Outpost, you see Runyon Canyon right here, Nichols Canyon right over here, Jupiter Drive and Hercules right over here. All of that, if you live in this area, you need to get out. Willow Glen, Carmen Crest, Cahuenga Boulevard, even parts of Cahuenga Boulevard are being evacuated. But the fire is heading in this direction towards Hollywood, this being Hollywood Boulevard. And as I'm going to expand that again, and you can see the tremendous amount of people that live and work right here in Hollywood Boulevard. This is where the fire department is staging structure protection right now and trying to get as many people or units involved in this firefight as possible. Now, let me point this out because I'm getting some texts and emails as I'm going to shrink it a little bit. This is the fire area we're talking about. Now, if you live north, like towards the valley here, towards Toluca Lake, towards Burbank, you're okay because the fire is going in this direction. It's not going north. It's this area south of the fire that is in trouble. The hills right now of Hollywood and just south of the hills, that's the area that we're most concerned with right now as this firefight is well underway. Colleen, I'll throw it back over to you.
Yeah, David, we're taking a very good look at that map. Is really, really helpful to kind of give an idea of where this fire is located, because we know the Hollywood Hills, they are very, very congested. And that's the luxury and the wonderful thing about living in the Hollywood Hills. You can see Hollywood Boulevard right there. You can see all those cars. It seems like, you know, fire officials have been saying, please stay off the roads unless you need to. Be on the roads. And this is one of the reasons why. You never know where a fire could pop up. And then you have evacuees trying to get out as quickly as possible. I'm not sure how many people in this area decided to be proactive and get their ready, set, go plan in place. But again, this is one of those areas where I'm always concerned about. I know many of us have lived in these areas. A lot of us currently live in this area. It's very close to everything, and that's why this area is very congested with a lot of homes. But again, Runyon Canyon, we all enjoy Runyon Canyon, and you can see Runyon Canyon right there is on fire, and it's wonderful to see the air support allowed to help this firefight this evening, because we were not so fortunate last night to have air support. And yes, Chris, actually, we do see your sky map on, which is great to see. I know I can hear you ever so slightly, Chris, but we're looking
these are some of the evacuation, the orders that are now underway because of this Sunset Fire. We just want to highlight some key areas. If you live near Laurel Canyon Boulevard to the 101 freeway, Mulholland Drive to Hollywood Boulevard, those are the borders of the evacuation zone. It's largely around the canyons, up in the hills, and then south towards Hollywood Boulevard. That's the area we're talking about. If you live, in those hills particularly, that's where there's a lot of fuel, and that's where this fire broke out, and it's consuming property really, really quickly. Although, if we can check back in with Chris, to this moment, though, you haven't seen any buildings on fire yet.
No buildings that we have observed, but there are now two major flare-ups. There's one in the foreground here, right there in the center of your screen. And if you tilt up just a little bit, Lucas, you can see on the other side of the ridge line, there's another flare-up on the backside, on the other side of that ridge line. Those tall flames are what really create the most danger, because that is creating embers that are already flying at a higher altitude than lower shrubbery and things like that. So you have really tall flames starting to flare up as the fire encounters some thicker brush. Hopefully these people have some degree of brush clearance, but in these winds it really doesn't matter. I can only say that, again, thankfully, if this was 24 hours ago, we would already be in trouble. Now they have a little bit more time to prepare to get out, and the fire department has a little bit more time to try and get in front of it. But it is a wait-and-see game at this hour.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, we are going to be talking on the phone with Phil Mercado. Phil, we understand you are being evacuated right now. Where do you live in this area that is in the evacuation zone?
We are just off of Curson Avenue, north of Hollywood Boulevard.
How did you find out about this and how quickly did you have to react?
Well, the crazy thing is my husband and I have 3 kids, and I was out with 2 of them, and we were on our way home, and a friend over in Nichols Canyon called us and asked if we got the warning to evacuate because she saw a fire on the hill across. And so I called my husband and our son, who they heard some helicopters, but they thought it was LA. They didn't think anything of it. And I told them that they had to evacuate.
Yeah. And were you at all, when you saw the Santa Ana wind event about to happen over the last few days of monitoring it, did you at all put together a ready, set, go plan or have any bag or anything? Or is this one of those things where, you know, many of us live in this community and then you kind of just hope that nothing happens?
It was a little bit of both. You know, we just knew that we needed, you know, laptops and phones and some personal stuff that we kind of had at the ready, and we backed all of our cars in case we had to make a speedy exit. And, you know, I thought actually through the evening we would probably have to do it just because the winds were so crazy. But luckily nothing happened last night. And unfortunately now it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is a brand spanking new fire that we were hoping wouldn't happen. We have enough to deal with, obviously. When I'm assuming you then got out and you're safe right now. And what was that experience like getting out? Did you run into traffic? Is the rest of your community responding?
Yeah, so, you know, we're all on a good community WhatsApp up here in Crescent Canyon, and everybody, it was just basically blowing up and telling everybody to get out. And, you know, I was a couple of blocks from home when I got the call from our friend. So I was able to see the fire, which is crazy. We got our pets. We took our cars out and we evacuated.
Thank goodness. And you have a place to go?
We do.
Okay. And by the way, that does beg the question. We don't know if there's an evacuation center set up yet for the folks in this community. As soon as we get that information, we'll, of course, turn it over to you. But the first and foremost, they're trying to fight this fire. What if this fire is not contained soon? What are we going to lose up in the hills where you live?
Well, you know, sadly, it's fairly concentrated, and, you know, we are perched down here at Ogden and Sunset right now, so we actually have a pretty good view, and you can see the planes dropping the water, and it seems to mitigate it for a little while, and then all of a sudden you'll see some other areas that, you know, spark up again. So sadly, our street, which is right off of North Crescent, they were dropping water on our neighbor's house, so I'm sure our house is affected by this. And you can basically see all of Runyon Canyon just glowing right now.
No kidding. That's so eerie to see. What about the weather where in your area? Are you feeling the winds kicking up?
Pure
in this area? We know how
devastation,
sometimes
Pure
night comes, the
devastation.
winds kick up, and you know these areas, they take on their own weather as well.
It seems like the winds really did pick up. I mean, this afternoon, things seemed to calm down, and then the moment the sun was starting to set, it seemed like the wind started picking up, and it's pretty windy right now and chilly.
And how are your kids responding right now? Being
Well, they're resilient teens, and they are all surviving because they have their devices, and they're checking in with all of their friends that are asking if we're okay, and so they seem to be doing okay. And you know, we keep telling them that as long as we're all okay, it's just stuff. So we're you know, as long as we have each other, we're all good.
Amen. One last question for you.
Sure.
Did you live in that? Have you lived in that home very long?
Since 1997.
Oh, wow.
And this is the second time that we've had to evacuate. There was a small fire up above us years ago, but easily contained, nothing like this whatsoever.
Wow. Well, I'm sure there's a lifelong memories in that home. Hopefully you'll stay safe. Phil Mercado, thank you so much for talking to us. You've been a wealth of information.
Perfect. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too. Danny Romero, meteorologist Danny Romero is tracking the situation going on right now. And most importantly, Danny, those winds and how powerful they are, we need them to die down.
Yeah, well, you know, the good news is they eventually will. Right now, though, Dave, we got this great profile set up here. Where the producer Phil Wilburn really keeping an eye on these things for us. So the Hollywood fire here, so the one we're talking about right now. At the moment, we're seeing the wind still in that double-digit range, although in the lower end of that 11, 10 miles per hour through the next few hours tonight. We head towards midnight. Now we're knocking it down to single digits, 4, 2 miles per hour. These are those winds that come through, but those gusts that come up, those are the ones you really worry about. As Chrissy has been showing us, that fire can move very quickly because those winds, the gusts pick up, grab those embers and move them to other spots and start yet another fire. These spot fires that go. So we're seeing that going on that way. So, for example, we're showing the wind showing up right here around that area. We're seeing the northeast winds, 15 miles per hour. Again, that double-digit range I told you. And then the gusts that show up in that 25 mile per hour range. And you can see right there, there's that Hollywood Highland area, the much populated Hollywood area. So that's going to be an area concern to watch out for. So there's that fire zone as we've been showing you. There's those winds going from that northeast profile and that true Santa Ana look that pushes everything towards the south and southwest, right towards that very, very populated area here. So we're seeing that's why the major concern is this thing is essentially doubled in size. And when Chris first found it, it was like 10 acres or so. Now I think we're pushing around that 20-acre range. So we're still seeing that. And then there again, the Palisades fire, same kind of idea. Again, those winds coming on the northeast, blowing 12 per hour wind active and still very concerned. Hence, that red flag won't in effect now until Friday in most spots. So David, Colleen, we're seeing more of this and we're tracking it continuously throughout the nighttime, of course.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Danny. Let's talk about our team of eyewitness news reporters. They are fanning out following these fires. Let's go to Tim Caputo. Tim, you are in Hollywood. Where exactly are you located?
And we know that they can be really strong help when they are deployed, but when they
She's never seen winds like this. The LAPD chief calling it unprecedented. Matt, talk about the challenge of having to fight 4 major fires, and they have many more going on too, but these 4 major fires all at the same time.
That's right. Earlier today in that press conference, fire chiefs were saying, hey, we are strapped. We are tapped out. We have no more resources. And that's why, Diane, we were driving through very large neighborhoods, having spent hours there, and we didn't see a single firefighter. They are just too stretched thin over a very large area in LA County. That's why they're surging reinforcements here, personnel and equipment, but it hasn't come quickly enough. And a fire chief told me this morning, there's nothing that can be done to combat wind that is this fierce because it just turbocharges all those fires. And we've seen it. One little ember gets into the eaves of a house, and within 30 minutes, that thing has burned to the ground. And this is the kind of fire behavior that I haven't seen in 10 years of covering fires pretty regularly. And fire chiefs and people who have been experts in this for 25 years say is incredibly unusual and particularly dangerous, Diane.
And Matt, the president just said he has signed a disaster declaration. The governor thanked him for that. How much do you think that's going to help? And what is this area going to need most now?
I think it's going to help in terms of funding and resources, because what we saw there is the decimation of a town. This was one of the wealthiest enclaves in America with some of the nicest stores, some of the most palatial homes, and the infrastructure is destroyed. The downtown business area is destroyed. Schools are destroyed. Places of worship are destroyed. They are going to need a Herculean federal effort to assist in the state and local effort to try to get this town back on its feet, if that even can ever happen. I mean, we drove to places, neighborhoods that I've known for years because my family lives here. I couldn't recognize the place. The place has completely changed because of this fire, ripping through so many countless of hundreds of houses and businesses. It is going to take a very long time and a lot of resources to rebuild this community, Diane.
It sure is. Our Matt Gutman there from near the Palisades fire. Matt, stay safe. And we are looking there at an image from our KABC chopper. You can see, again, 4 major wildfires burning in Los Angeles County, dozens more smaller fires burning there. Emergency services are really stretched at their limit. So far, more than 10,000 acres contained, 2 people dead, many more injuries. We will continue to stay on top of this story on ABC News Live, on abcnews.com, and David Muir will anchor a special edition of World News Tonight from there in Los Angeles. I'm Diane Macedo in New York. Right now, we'll return you to your regular programming.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
Diane, thank you so much. I'm Kira Phillips. So glad you're continuing to follow along the devastating wildfires right now with us here on ABC News Live. The president just signing a major disaster declaration as those fires are ravaging Southern California. A perfect storm of winds, usually only seen in tornadoes and hurricanes, and near zero rain has turned the area into an inferno. At least 2 people have died so far, with a high number of significant injuries. And I should mention, every single one of these fires 0% contained. Let's get straight to our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman. He's there in Pacific Palisades. Matt, bring us up to date to what you're seeing, and then Alex, we'll head to you in Altadena.
It's hard to describe what we're seeing, and it's hard. So Philip and Giovanna, maybe they went up, they checked things out, and then they... Here. Right here is the iconic Sunset Boulevard behind me. This is the Pacific Coast Highway, and the reason we're down here, Kira, is... Where's my mic? I think it's somewhere around here. The reason we're down here, Kira, is because there's no reception anywhere. It's an entire dead zone, and we have to drive through tunnels of fire because the fire is still very much raging through those communities just to get here to be able to deliver this two-way with you. And so it's very much ongoing. Firefighters are still battling the flames where they can, but vast areas, whole neighborhoods have been essentially left to their own design because there's nobody who can get there. Firefighters are so incredibly stretched, so tired, and the fire chief here and in LA County said they are tapped out. They literally have no more resources to send, which is why they're trying to surge as many personnel and equipment here as they can, but that takes time. One more thing, it's extremely challenging fighting a fire with this kind of wind. That you can see right above me how the wind is sort of cantilevering the smoke from what appears to be that apartment complex above over. It makes it hard to spot where the fire is for airdrops when they drop water or fire retardant, and it makes it hard for firefighters to get there. The visibility in so many places is near zero. You're literally driving through a curtain of smoke, and you know, I just probably should show you this. These are my hands. This is what it looks like to be out here for 6-7 hours. I'm not in the dirt. It's just this is how much soot is in the air.
Oh my goodness, I can't.
Firefighters are going through right now, Kira.
Well, which is exactly why you need to have a mask on, too. And I was talking to Alex about this a little while ago and just looking at the difference, you know, looking at both of your live pictures right now. Matt, I'm curious, from where you are, have you been seeing more people evacuate? Are you seeing them stay put? Are they minding these evacuation orders? Are they paying attention to the elements that you just demonstrated? I mean, for all the air that they're breathing, I mean, that's going into their lungs and their bloodstream. There's already warnings about air quality, not just the fires that are spreading, but not to even be outside if possible. I mean, bring us up to date on what you know from all the folks being impacted there.
I think you're making a really good point. And that is that a vast number of people, millions of people are affected by this wind event and the fires that it started. And it is causing very dangerous air conditions in LA County. So huge numbers of people are affected. Large numbers of people are also terrified that this wind is going to carry embers to them and trigger a fire in their neighborhood, and it leaves people feeling very anxious because you have no idea where this thing is going to happen. And you mentioned evacuation orders, and typically when we cover fires, and I've covered many dozens of them, there will always be people who stick behind, who stay back, who are saying, I'm not leaving my house. I can tell you that today we have been through there. First of all, there are very few houses left standing. Second, we have seen no civilians who've hunkered down overnight. We've seen some people come back to try to tend to their houses, to try to find family heirlooms. A couple of people have trickled in, some on foot or on bike, or if they can get in by car, but the place is empty. It's a ghost town, which is something very rare in these types of fires because people have heeded the warnings and the evacuation orders, and they have seen with their own eyes the kind of destruction that we saw. And one of the things that was scariest, I think, Kira, and maybe you guys can run some B-roll over some of these images, was the gridlock that we also encountered yesterday. Hundreds and hundreds of cars jamming into this road, the Pacific Coast Highway, the Sunset Drive, at the exact same time, converging to get out of here. And it was so bad that many of them just abandoned their cars and fled on foot down to where we are here on the beach. And that forced firefighters who were trying to get in to Pacific Palisades to fight the fire to carve a path using a bulldozer through the cars, literally cleaving them aside, dumping them on their side. You can see how strong that wind is, just almost knocked me over. to get firefighters in where they needed to be. And this morning we came back to where we saw this happen yesterday, and many of those cars had burned. That's how dangerous this is. So it gives you a sense of how terrifying this must have been for civilians trying to get out of here, and why so many of them heeded those evacuation orders, Kira.
Yeah, and we saw those images. We're trying to get that video right now, Matt, just to show folks the severity of when you leave all at one time. Here you go. This is the video that you brought us. You're actually there on the scene, shooting video even on your cell phone. But these cars that had to be abandoned, now bulldozers brought in to clear those cars so the firefighters could get to the front lines. Pretty powerful images, Matt. Thank you so much. And Alex, you're there in Altadena, right next to La Cañada, where I was talking to a number of my friends in both areas. The La Cañada folks were able to escape. Unfortunately, my friends in Altadena lost their home. So it has hit folks there where you are pretty darn hard.
Absolutely, it has. And still, unlike what Matt is seeing, we're seeing a number, you're going to see cars coming by me here in just one moment, of people who are either still getting out or they're just roaming around. This is such a big area, different than Pacific Palisades. This is more of an urban environment. There's an Arco gas station right here, a florist right here, auto center right here, that there just aren't enough law enforcement to shut everything down. So people who want to be looky-loos, they're coming around and they're checking it out. This home behind me that we've been watching a little while ago, they stopped putting water on it and they seemed to be done, and many of the engines moved on. Well, it flared back up again a few minutes ago, and there's fire. There's still a little bit more up in the eaves. So the one engine that remains, they just got their hoses back out and started putting more water on it. But still, this direction, quite a bit of active flame and smoke, very smoky down in that way. Number of homes that have been lost. Even down this street right here, home after home after home now gone, and firefighters have no idea how many homes. They'll do a count at some point. They're too busy right now.
Oh, boy. Matt Gutman, Alex Stone, guys, thank you so much. And as you were both bringing us up to date from Pacific Palisades and Altadena, we are getting more information now on what the president just announced moments ago. And those are all the additional federal assets that he's bringing in to California. It's going to include the California National Guard. It's already activated 2 military police companies to assist with the fires. 2 more will be activated within the next 24 hours. He has also announced that he has directed DOD, our Department of Defense, to provide additional firefighting personnel and capabilities via the Navy. 10 Navy helicopters with water buckets from San Diego are going to head to LA to help put out those fires, along with 2 modular air firefighting systems, the MAFFS. Those units will be deployed from California and Nevada and the National Guard bases there. It will help spread fire retardant throughout the area. So the assets clearly from the state level to neighboring states, and now the feds coming in to help with these Southern California wildfires just ravaging the area right now. Also at this hour, more than 400,000 customers across California are without power as these deadly wildfires are burning through the neighborhoods along the coast. Those conditions prompting power safety shutoffs as well by Southern California Edison, which provides electricity to 5 million customers across the state. The company warning now that more than 400 customers are being considered for these power shutoffs. And of course, it's a last resort effort to try and help fight the blaze. Let's go ahead and bring in a spokesperson now for Southern California Edison who can explain more about this. Jeff Monfort, thank you for staying close with us. We needed to listen to see what the president was being briefed on, if he had anything to say to the country. I know you waited around for us to talk now, so I really appreciate it. For those that are unfamiliar, Jeff, if you don't mind, just kind of help us understand why these power safety shutoffs have to be implemented during conditions like this, and how it actually makes a difference in fighting a fire.
Well, I'm glad to explain this. Our top concern at Southern California Edison is, of course,
burn our community.
Any point when the conditions are right.
That seems to be untouched miraculously, but besides
about Elton John.
that will destroy the world.
Is scorching more than 10,000 acres. LA County officials confirming that is where 5 civilians died. We're also keeping tabs on the Hearst fire northeast of San Fernando. That's said to be burning at least 700 acres. And the Woodley fire erupting this morning near Sepulveda Basin in the San Fernando Valley. We've also just learned of a 5th fire, called the Lydia fire, that erupted not too long ago. Then there's this. More than 1.1 million customers are without power in California right now. Officials desperately urging residents to follow evacuation orders and keep themselves out of harm's way as those explosive fires spread with no signs of stopping. Our Jacqueline Lee has been tracking this fire from Pacific Palisades, where this started. Jacqueline, give us the picture of where you are right now. What are the conditions like?
Hey, Elizabeth, so the biggest issue obviously is the winds. Those wind gusts, when they come through, you can really feel it, and it creates very dangerous conditions. I mean, take a look at this vegetation. You can see it is smoldering, and I would almost argue it's very close to reigniting. You can see some of those flames starting to pop up at the very base of that. Just to show you, I mean, it's very clear when you look at this hillside, it burned through within the last 24 hours. And so while it has been out for the entire time that we've been here, which has been all day, you can see it is very close to reigniting again, which just shows you how scary this is, not only for residents who are trying to get to their homes to see if there's anything left standing, but also it highlights the challenges for firefighters as they continue to try to battle this fire. You know, it's so difficult with these wind conditions to gain any sort of upper hand, and especially when you have so many large fires burning all at once throughout the area. It's no surprise that these fires are not contained whatsoever. So, I mean, this is just a perfect example of what is going on all over Los Angeles, Elizabeth, and just how dangerous things can turn.
You've been talking a lot, Jacqueline, as we've been watching your coverage throughout the day about the wind. Has that subsided at all, or is it really still blowing at these incredible speeds that has led to this really, really rapid spreading of the fires?
I would say just from where I'm standing right now, in the last 30 minutes, it has subsided. I mean, I'd say earlier today, it's really when it felt like hurricane like wind gusts, when we were actively bracing ourselves because the wind gusts would go through. It is a little bit calmer right now, so that's a good thing. And we are hoping it'll stay that way through the night. And many homeowners who are very nervous about either evacuations or the fires burning close to their homes, but they're not yet in an evacuation zone. That, of course, is always a concern. You know, we do have these Santa Ana wind concerns, you know, through tomorrow, but hopefully the worst is over, but that can't even really be said because of just how unpredictable all of this is, Elizabeth.
Yeah, no question. We can hope. Jacqueline Lee, thanks so much for all your reporting throughout the day. Let's bring in meteorologist Samara Theodore for the forecast on this. So Samara, talk a little bit about what we're looking at with those winds that Jacqueline was just talking about.
All right, Elizabeth, so we are still in the threat. The forecast has been that the winds would decrease tonight, this evening through tonight into tomorrow morning. And we're on track for that, but we're still in the thick of it. We're not out of the woods yet. So we still have an extreme fire risk from Malibu to Santa Clarita, Los Angeles, Riverside, Anaheim, also in a fire risk, wind gusting 35 to 60 plus miles per hour. As Jacqueline mentioned, we had very strong winds overnight. We saw wind gusts as high as 100 miles per hour near the Eaton fire. So what I want to say right now is that it doesn't matter if a fire is not burning in your neighborhood. Even still, keep in mind that this area, Southern California, is really a tinderbox right now. So we are still remaining on high alert, even as these winds continue their descent. So winds will continue to decrease as we head through the afternoon and evening hours. As I fast forward, it shows us what winds could be by about 10 p.m. tonight, 13 miles per hour in Pacific Palisades. We could still see gusts higher than that, of course. And then we could see winds down to the single digits tomorrow morning. So that's good news. But as I keep stressing, we still have winds gusting relatively high at the moment. The other factor has been just how dry it's been. Since May of last year, we've only seen 0.16 inches of rain in downtown Los Angeles. Between October 1st and today, we should have picked up around 4.5 inches of rain. So that's really a significant loss that we're at. We're seeing a major drought for a lot of Southern California. And that coupled with the dynamics at play, this area of high pressure to the north, this area of low pressure to the south, like two gears turning, creating this very strong pressure gradient. And that is leading to the Santa Ana winds being so robust, so energized. And finally, the relative humidity. It has dropped to critical levels. We should start to see an uptick as we head into Thursday evening and Friday.
Wow.
Elizabeth?
The drought combined with the wind, just terrifying to see that. Samar Theodore, thanks so much. We'll check in with you soon. Our ABC station in Southern California has been out with their reporters, their backs to these flames, to bring everyone the latest on the raging fires. I want to bring in KBC reporter Josh Haskell, who's been in the Pacific Palisades amid the Eden fire burning there, more than 15,000 acres, still 0% contained. Hey, Josh.
This mobile home park, and another one right next door between Temescal Canyon and Sunset Boulevard along Pacific Coast Highway, used to be extremely ideal property. Now you can see there is absolutely nothing left. Utter devastation everywhere. And I know someone that lived in this particular mobile home park. I know someone who had property here. And not only is there not a single home left here, but there is just very little to salvage. I mean, it is just ash and destruction, and it is heartbreaking. And I want to just pan up to the mountains really quick, because there were homes that lined those bluffs overlooking the Pacific Ocean on all of those lots, and every single one of them is gone. It may be a little difficult to see. You can see some chimneys in a couple different places. This is near where Ashley Mackey has been reporting, David and Ellen, and what used to be some of the most idyllic real estate in all of California and all of the United States. Not only is it completely gone, but it is just a disaster zone on every level. Again, as I reported earlier, driving through the Palisades Village is just absolutely heartbreaking. I'm thinking about all the people that live there, over 25,000 people, people who grew up there, like myself. You just never thought that you would see your town that destroyed. And I'm not over exaggerating. It really feels like from driving through the town that 50 to 75% is gone or badly damaged. And I wish that wasn't true. And there might be a home on a block, but you might be the only home left on the block. And I don't know what that life would be like. And it's just indescribable. And the images have been coming out all day, thanks to Air 7 and other reporters. But really seeing it on the ground, especially having, I was there on Sunday. I had lunch there on Sunday at a restaurant with my parents. Like, none of it makes sense.
It just doesn't. And thank you for sharing your story and those powerful images. Josh Haskell from KBC, thanks so much. ABC News' Alex Stone is tracking the other fire that we are closely watching, the Eden fire in Altadena. Alex, this fire has caused at least 5 deaths that we know of. First reports came around 6 p.m. in the evening yesterday. What does it look like there, and what does the spread of this fire look like, Alex?
Elizabeth, that's right. The numbers have now gone up to 5 dead on this fire, and there are numerous others who have injuries. That they've got burn injuries, other types of injuries. We don't know the extent of those yet. You can see this house behind me that firefighters are now getting some water on it. It was burning. They got it down and started burning again. They've been battling it all day long, as this being one of many homes that have been burning here several times today. And about 2 minutes ago, there was an LA County water dropping helicopter that went over, but it's been very sporadic. Right now, the resources are so stretched thin that getting use of the helicopters, and we haven't seen any planes that have been able to get up in the air, that they haven't been able to use them very much. But when they are able to, hopefully either later on tonight or maybe tomorrow, that will make a huge difference in all of this. But for now, Elizabeth, the fire continues to spread neighborhood to neighborhood. Homes are burning. The winds have died down quite a bit since earlier today, but still the flames are moving.
Those powerful winds, such an impediment to the water drop that is so critical to try to get this under control. Alex, tell us what you're seeing and what you're hearing from first responders and from people who are there where you are, worried about their homes, their communities.
Yeah, they're exhausted, whether it be first responders or people who live in this area. And you can see there are more resources coming in right now as LA County Fire comes in and they head up to areas that are burning right up there. I talked to one man whose home right down here burned to the ground, and he was telling me earlier today that he got home from work last night and didn't know about this fire and got home and his house was on fire and it was burning. So, you know, there are people who live in these neighborhoods that they are in disbelief right now. They thought that the fire out in Pacific Palisades, 30 miles away, that was it. And then everything erupted overnight in just incredible 100-mile-per-hour winds. And I just cannot reiterate enough, Elizabeth, the strength of those winds early this morning. It was impossible to stand in them. I mean, it was you were in a hurricane in that moment. But a hurricane with hot embers, glowing embers all around, smoke. It was impossible to see 5 feet in front of your car driving along. You didn't know where the fire was. You didn't know where the end of the road was. If a car was in front of you, it was incredibly tough, and people could not get out. And that's why we now know that 5 people have died and others were injured trying to get out. They just were not able to get out.
Just incredible, and so much tragedy ahead. Alex Stone, appreciate all of your tireless reporting on this, bringing us that picture all throughout the day. Alex Stone, thanks so much. Coming up, we're going to hear from those impacted most by these raging fires, people who've been forced to evacuate and flee their homes. Stick with us.
What makes Elton John so iconic?
The biggest fire, the Palisades fire, entire streets engulfed. American flags waving as the building behind them is nearly gone. One firefighter with a hose trained at the front door, though every home there on fire. Firefighting aircraft dropping water on burning homes. The fire unrelenting, the fierce wind sending embers traveling miles away. Fire and smoke pouring out of this home's window. Some 40 miles away, the Eaton fire in Pasadena. Tonight, these new aerial images revealing what the wildfires have done there.
But these are sad sights, and we've seen so much of this, you know, into last year, and then now again in 2025. This is heartbreaking. I feel for these people.
The Pasadena Preschool Academy on fire. The residents at this senior living facility, the terraces at Park Marino, rushed out of their bedrooms wearing masks to protect them from the air. They were rescued. A heroic effort by the LA Fire Department and emergency response teams across the region tonight. They are saving lives amidst the horror.
The scope of the loss here, though, is unimaginable.
It's devastating. It's devastating, and I feel for those people. I've spoke to some of them. I hear it in their voices. It tears at my heartstrings, too. But like I said, at the end of the day, they were alive. They knew they would rebuild and come back better. And I just gave them a hug, and I said, you know, please reach out with anything you need.
Well, there's no question you've saved lives here.
That was our goal. Yeah. That's our #1 priority.
Thank you.
Again, showing in the magnitude of this fire that our World News Tonight anchor David Muir hopped right on a plane to come out here to Southern California, and he is joining us now. David, what a pleasure to have you here with us. And look, I know you've covered, so many natural disasters all across this globe, but also you've covered several wildfires right here in Southern California. And during that tour today, what stood out to you the most as far as being so different from anything else you've ever seen here?
Well, you know, Kata, you know Palisades Village very well. You know this whole area. And I was saying earlier on World News Tonight that this particular area, it would have been bustling at this hour. You know, people shopping, dining, gathering here. You can see behind me the flames actually right over my shoulder here continue to burn some 24 hours later. And Kata, everywhere you go, and you know this, you see the thick black smoke rising in the air. Whenever you see that, you know that's a new fire that is now cropped up from these Santa Ana winds that continue gusting at some points 90, 100 miles per hour in these last 24 hours. You know, what really stands out to me, though, and you mentioned that we've covered a number of these fires. We travel out for them, and there's always really no shortage of heartache. There's always loss to report on when we come out here. But the scope of these fires is staggering. It's actually hard to put words to it. We were going down the Pacific Coast Highway, right into Pacific Palisades. We went up into the neighborhoods, and it was interesting. The moment we took the turn to go
Let's see what up in the neighborhood.
Immediately.
Let's fast forward this.
Tick is incredibly important.
Nope.
Abandoned cars, hillside. LA's
I wanna see
most upscale
that.
beachside town of Malibu. Fleeing families trying to thread a tunnel of fire with both sides of the Pacific Coast Highway engulfed.
All of PCH is on fire right now. It is like driving through hell itself down here.
Oh my goodness.
Literally through hell.
Ah.
This is madness down here. These homes
Ah.
are fire, and you can feel the heat from the flames even from inside your car.
Hopefully they're going to save our house. Hopefully they're going to save our house.
Frank DeMarco tried to
They
save
can't
his
save your
Malibu home
house.
himself, but with flames feet away, he had no choice but to get in his car and get out.
Look at this. Look at this. Everything is on fire. Everything's on fire. I don't know what to do here.
The firefighters spread so thin, the howling winds spreading flames like seeds across Southern California.
There is nothing left of these neighborhoods. House after house on both sides of the street, completely gone. Many of them still on fire, not a firefighter in sight. And you can see all these embers being cast. And all that's left in many of these neighborhoods are just chimneys, burning homes.
And by daybreak, the
said
flames
earlier.
even stronger.
The ferocity of what we are seeing, this house that has become a blowtorch, very quickly igniting the other house. You can hear all that popping. Gives you a sense of why so many neighborhoods here have been completely obliterated.
Former beach volleyball champion Randy Stolkos has lived here all his life.
This is paradise. This is one of the finest places in the world to live.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's gotten turned upside down.
Are we gonna have
And LA
to end
County's
this
fire chief
program right
admitting
now?
with major fires burning around Los Angeles, they just can't fight them all.
Hey guys, thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone pray for the families that have been devastated by this. But we're going to end this live right now. So thank you everyone for watching. Have a good night. Please like, share, and subscribe. D Lady Diana. Let's reach for this goal, 5,000 subscribers. Let's go.